right, guys, welcome back to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. My name is Samnang Man. I'm a lifestyle and performance coach, hybrid athlete, philosopher, head coach at the Peak Performance Academy, and the host of this wonderful podcast that we just started. And we are now well into a few seasons or a few episodes, and we're excited. We got wonderful guests that's lined up for our show, inspiring guests. I'm inviting some very inspiring guests, and this person is a special person. Her name is Dr. Diane Araj. And let me tell you a little bit how I know her and how we stayed connected through social media and Facebooks. So Diane is a Lake Braddock and VCU. I don't. You didn't graduate from VCU, but I think I met you at VCU. I knew your fraternity. One of my fraternity brothers was your brother, and that's where I believe I met you. But I don't think we had too many interactions at college, but we stayed connected on Facebook because that's when Facebook was invented, was for the college students. And I think we became friends and just stayed connected, but we never really much chatted, I think, from then until now. But just following your journey, seeing the inspiration that you post about your weight loss journey was kind of what sparked my interest in, paying attention to what you were doing. But in the beginning of the show, what we do is I read off your bio, and then you could fill in any information that you want to tell your story about who you are and what you're doing, and then we just kind of continue the conversation and flow with it. So the purpose of the show is flow in, flow out, is to elevate the collective vibrations, and really we just talk about personal philosophies and how we see life, personal development, try to help each other by telling our inspiring stories and learning from the struggles, and tell us stories about like what we're doing and what we're planning to do. You got some fun stuff on here I want to read off, and then I'll hand the mic off to you. So Dr. Diane Araj, yeah, and you have to say doctor. She's 40-year-old wife of an amazing man, mother of two beautiful girls aged 2 and 4. Mine are about the same as well too, whom was a preemie and was in the NICU for almost 90 days. And she is thriving as a beautiful testimony of God. She's a daughter, a sister, a friend, a woman of God, and the list goes on. She's a pharmacist by trade and works as a pharmacy manager at the hospital. She loves working out, inspiring others. Her alarm goes off at 3:15 a.m. She's lost 100 pounds with E2MS or E2M Fitness. After her second child, she had postpartum depression, and she hit rock bottom. So the program saved her life, and she's been through some things in life, but God has helped her through. She feels so blessed to be where she is today. Everything has happened and set her up to who she is to be today. And she is now she is super happy about this opportunity. And thank you. Well, welcome to the show, Dr. Diane Araj Buckley.
Yes. Thank you. That's how I know that we go back in the day, because you are remember the Araj. So yes, now I'm married, and it's the Buckley as well. I changed my middle name to my maiden name. So Diane Araj Buckley, here I am. Thank you again for really allowing this opportunity, and I am excited. So
yeah, this is your first podcast, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, that was a formal introduction. Really get to know you and stuff. It's really authentic. That formality and stuff is just to captivate people and pretend that I'm professional and stuff. But really, it's to have real conversations and stuff. So I understand your story, and I want to get to know you. I want the audience to get to know you as well too. So you got a lot of stuff going on, like all of us and stuff. But how do you pull through that? And really, we want to understand kind of like the psychology of what you've been through. That's I think what I wanted to get out of this conversation, because it's very tough to hear, where have you been and where you are now. But I've been, into that type of spot too. So please feel free to share as much as you want, and we'll give you the mic. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And it's a beautiful thing, honestly, when we do share our stories and our challenges. And if life was all pretty and rainbows, then we wouldn't have much to share to help others. So I'm happy to be able to do that. So I'll start with, the adulthood when I met you, because my childhood was awesome and amazing parents. I had everything I needed. And
Amazing
I did
brother.
go to BC. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
amazing, brother. Yep.
I do have two brothers. And the one that is the middle child, so
Okay.
he we'll give
Oh,
him
Mike.
some extra
Yeah,
kudos.
I'm pretty sure he'll like this. He'll like it. We say his name. His name is Mike Araj.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
He actually called me after he saw the post and was like, "That's so exciting! How did that even happen?" So he is excited about it. But I will say he's not gonna like this part because I always bring this up. But I beat him in a football game.
Yeah.
So and he'll never live it down. But
Yeah.
I beat
That's
him
how
one
brothers
time.
brothers are like that. I have brothers where I don't even bring up subjects where you're like, I know I was right, but I'm not gonna bring it up. I
Yeah.
have that too. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. But both my brothers are absolutely awesome, and I was the youngest and the only child, so definitely spoiled. I'll have to admit that. And so I did go to VCU for 2 years. I really enjoyed those years and actually getting closer to my brother there and, feeling a part of something, even with the fraternity
Yeah.
that was there. And then I just did a couple of years of undergrad and went to pharmacy school at Hampton University
Okay.
and did 4 years there. And then I did a residency for a year. And then I started practicing as a full fledged pharmacist on my own in the emergency department and an outpatient pharmacy. And then transferred to another main emergency department. Lots of fun stuff there.
Yeah.
But it was a very exciting thing. And through that process, a lot of things happened at that point that I allowed. I've always fought with my weight and my confidence. I equaled confidence as in being skinny and beautiful,
Hmm.
but also took a lot of pride in my work as well. And that's where some of my confidence came.
Yeah.
And so during that time, I had a really bad relationship, and I think that's really where it really started with a man. And my heart is for women and encouraging women. I would love to encourage everyone, of course, but that's deep down in my heart. So I'll probably share some things that I've probably never really shared publicly. But if it will help someone, then I'm all for it. Um, but I was in a long-term relationship with someone that I shouldn't have been.
Hmm.
And towards the end of the relationship, it actually did get very physical. And remember a, a, a story where God really saved me from something. It was truly, truly a miracle.
Yeah.
But I'm here today to basically be able to be a light and share some of those things. But um, I think that relationship really allowed me to know when I did meet my now husband, um, how blessed I was and how that was just a God ordained relationship. It was night and day. But if I didn't go through that previous relationship and those previous heartaches, I don't think I would be where I'm at now with the amazing husband that I have now.
Yeah.
Um, and we got married in 2016.
Congrats.
Yes.
Lots of
Um,
successes.
yeah, man. After that relationship, I really had to hone in my relationship with God. He really pulled me out of the darkness. And
Right.
I actually remember out of nowhere. I mean, I'm not someone that does this type of public speaking things of a spoken word, but I did a spoken word at church. And that church really helped develop me in meeting other people with my relationship with God. And truly,
Yeah.
that's the reason why I'm even here.
Yeah.
Um, yes.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I mean, that's powerful. I think having like a force or like a spiritual force to kind of help guide you, especially during those hard times. And no, I appreciate you sharing. I don't want anybody like it's funny how we have this effect on like podcasting. Like I've said it before, it's like, people are very private, but I think that feeling where you get on a podcast and you start to feel that if your story does help somebody in a way, it's very healing for you in a way because you just express your story that you probably haven't told to anybody. But relationships really take you towards a a path of the self-discovery, because like self-discovery is not, that it's not just yourself anymore. It's like your future relationship, it's like your kids. Now you're starting to look at yourself, and that start of like getting in tune with like God and having like that spiritual force. For me, I had the same very similar experience too. It's where I wasn't about church or God or spiritual at first, but when these emotional pains and these things where you start to like try to figure yourself out starts to come out, you start to get closer towards like God or trying to find yourself. And I think that's the process of like when you're in relationships, that's especially adult relationships where it takes you to like self introspective work and stuff. But for that relationship, you said you were in there for like too long. What was there a point where like like, because there's always a point for me too, is where like, man, I should have done this earlier, right? I should have left earlier. I should have gone to therapy earlier. Where and same with your weight gain and stuff. Did this happen at the same time, or was that after, like when you had the baby and stuff? So we could go into it.
It was both. I can't even tell you how many times I've lost and gained weight in my life. It's been several times. And I do associate that I'm a emotional eater.
Emotional eater, yeah.
But, well, and I've been able to kind of combat that. It's not perfect, but gotten better. But the point where that relationship where I just knew it was over was when I found out that he was manipulating another woman as well as me. And it was almost like a soap opera. Some of the things that were happening I never thought would happen to me, like being pinned up against a wall, or someone being so mad that I'm starting to just retreat and move away and see someone else, and have that physical violence occurring. That's when I knew I just needed to walk away. And there was even an engagement ring that was purchased, and I was so blind to just wanting that marriage and wanting the rest of my life that I accepted it. But thankfully, when all those things happened, I realized that I needed to step away. And I really think that was, again, God helping me through that to make the right choices. So that was the turning point for that. And the manipulation was comments like, I'll take a picture with you when you lose weight. Things like that, where the Diane now would never accept those types of comments. But the Diane then just wanted to be, I don't know, I guess I just really wanted to be in a relationship. I know I loved him. But sometimes they say love is blind, as cliche as that is. It is the truth.
There's some cliches stuff. Love is blind is one, and then it's like man, I was gonna say another one that was gonna relate to yours, but it just sometimes it gives you that introspective work of like manipulation and stuff. That word gets thrown a lot in relationship, because it could seem one way or another. I've been called a manipulator, a narcissist, and I don't know if it goes back and forth, but I think like doing the introspective work for yourself after it, instead of actually like holding on to like what happened, is what really creates like transformation and stuff. I think so part of the relationship kind of stems some of like the insecurities about yourself, and kind of you weren't able to like emotionally like control yourself, and is that where the weight gain started going or started coming on?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of that, and also thinking that I could eat whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. I didn't know how to eat right. So I think with the mixture, with a mixture of like, diet and exercise was not really ever a topic of learning or conversation. So with
that's
that
interesting. I think something that's a good conversation is familiar, like people that go to med school know a lot about like nutrition. I think, I'm not saying there's anything about or anything, but I started to realize after I became like a nutritionist and started learning more about nutrition and stuff, it's like, oh, there's like a lack of nutrition knowledge out there. So you started like, was there a time where like, hey, I'm a pharmacist, I'm in the medical field, where like, hey, I gotta kind of be fit as well too? Because that's how I always felt, like, where I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be this influencer, I have to be this person that's, fit too. Or did you develop into this, Diane? How did you develop into who you are now?
So, that's really funny because I never felt that. Like, I never felt like I need to be the example as a pharmacist of being healthy. I don't know why that never even occurred to me. I mean, and we didn't really learn that stuff in school. It was all about medicine. You've got diabetes. It's not about the weight loss. It's, hey, take this pill and make your A1C, um, less than whatever. I don't want to get
Yeah,
into all the mumbo jumbo, but,
yeah,
um, and so it was not until actually now with E2M Fitness where I realized the importance of eating right and exercising. I was always exercising in and out, but I was eating everything under the sun that I
yeah,
wanted because to me, I was like, I didn't know any better. Um, but I think the difference now is my children and knowing that I'm setting an example for them. So
yeah,
my 2 and 4-year-old are my why. And, I don't want them to have the same fight with weight their entire lives because they just never knew that there
yeah,
was moderation in what you eat. Um, you know, can't have sugar every day, every meal, or, a foot long sub every day with every meal, whatever it is. Like,
yeah,
and there's a right way to eat. And I didn't realize that eating right helps me emotionally and physically, having energy. Um, and, sometimes when I am having a bad meal on the weekend, that Monday workout is just, I'm dragging.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
also feel horrible. Like when I eat right, I feel good. And, um, I've got energy. I don't know. It's just something. So that transition didn't really happen until E2M Fitness. And I'm not perfect. I still struggle here and there. But I know I'm not going back to the Diane that
yeah.
I was.
It was
And
a permanent change. So it's like a
yeah.
permanent change. And that's like my goal. Like I've seen many programs and talked to many people and like worked with many people. It's the ability to stick to something permanently. So you decided, hey, there was like a point. You said there was a lot of emotional pain. That was adding on top of postpartum depression. Was
Mhm.
that, and then that was, depression is painful, it's probably one of
Yes.
the hardest things to deal with. And then having a baby, and then just having like not an understanding of how food and all that kind of like work together, which is kind of like, that's how the weight gain happened.
So, well, the weight gain was already there. And it happened even more, of course, during the pregnancy. And I had all these plans to lose weight and get in shape after my first pregnancy. And then that didn't really work out because my daughter was a premie and was in the NICU for almost 90 days.
Yeah,
And man, that was it's still a traumatizing thing. I can barely walk into the NICU at work without getting
yeah,
emotional. But um, so I think I was so enwrapped with her that I really didn't have that much postpartum depression with her. I was just praying and worried about everything that was going on with her and going to the hospital every day. And let me tell you, as a woman, it is a horrible feeling to have to decide if I'm going to go back to work because my 3 months of leave is up, or am I going to stay with my daughter at the NICU? And I just felt like that was so unfair. We got to do better. But anyway, I
yeah,
digress. So I really wasn't thinking about the weight loss or worried about that. I was worried about her. I was just praying that God would have her come through. And he did, thank God.
yeah,
Um, but the second baby, it was perfect. I didn't have any issues. I had preeclampsia with the first one, and I almost died actually with my first pregnancy. I lost a whole
oh,
bunch of blood and a lot of crazy things happened. But
you got a
the
lot of
second pregnancy, she was
trauma.
perfect. What'd you say?
You got a lot of stuff that you went through.
Oh man, yeah. And
uh,
you know what? I think back on it and I'm like, God really just
Yeah, isn't
you
it kind of
got something.
empowering just saying that, hey, you went through this, you wear it like a badge of honor. You have to like, that's why I have this podcast and I enjoy it. I'm like, hey, I got to share my losses and struggles, and then like these are badges of honor. Sometimes we don't talk about that. Like these struggles, they're a lot as adults and stuff, and really just want to tell you like proud of you for pulling yourself and going through all this and stuff. It's a lot
Yeah,
for a mom.
it is. Our scars though tell a beautiful story, and I wouldn't get rid of them for anything. So,
Yeah,
including yours, it's just, it makes us who we are today. And so, that second pregnancy, I actually remember sitting on the steps, and my husband, God, he's just amazing. He's never once made me feel less than. He's never once, you know, he's always loved me, has
yeah,
never put me down, always been in support. And so I knew I was in a bad place when I remember sitting on the steps, feeling horrible about myself and just how I felt, how I looked. When there were so many blessings right in front of me, like a perfect pregnancy where I got to take my baby home right away and she was healthy. Um, and I sat on the steps and I asked, do you love me? Do you still love me? Because I had so much angst and unlove for myself.
mm,
I couldn't allow someone else to love me. Like, why would you love me? Is
hmm,
basically how I was feeling.
yeah,
Because
yes,
I didn't love myself. And so that's when I knew I was kind of in a dark hole. And I
yeah,
remember seeing my friend's post about E2M fitness. And I reached out to her while I was pregnant. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I thought she had gotten weight loss surgery or something like that. And she's like, "Doing ETM fitness." And I said, "Oh, and she explained it to me. And she's like, "Well, when you're postpartum, reach out."
yeah,
And so I remember that conversation and I did. And I never looked back. Um,
yeah. Was it uncomfortable doing that? Like, because there's that moment where people want to do it, but they don't do it. They're always like, because I used to be a CrossFit. People, oh, I'd love to do CrossFit, but they just don't do it, right?
right.
How does someone like if you were a coach at E2M Fitness and they were just like, I don't know, but it'll benefit them, and just be like, hey, you know, this is what's gonna happen. This what might happen. This what will happen and stuff. Maybe sell me on like, or tell somebody, the audience members, of like, hey, if you're thinking about doing something like a coaching program to kind of change your mind in life, like a life coaching program or something like that, or like a fitness program, what would you tell them?
Um, why not? I mean, what's there to lose except gain the rest of your life? From a health and fitness perspective, um, well, first I would show them my pictures. I think pictures
Yeah,
speak a
that's
thousand words. I mean, I
pictures do
mean, I,
tell a story.
I, I am still in shock that I have been able to do this without, not that there's anything wrong with it, but without
Here,
surgery, without weight loss
I-
pills.
I'll pull up your Facebook. Uh,
Okay.
Go ahead and continue chatting, and then I'll pull up
Yeah.
your Facebook. Yeah, yeah. So
But I
people could
would I
see.
would do that, and then the cost for it is a one-time minimal thing that we probably spend, in a month on coffee or whatever your vice may be. Um, why not take that chance? The only thing that I would say is take that chance, but um, you have to put your mind to it. You can't just give up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, and so why not when there's an
Why not?
opportunity for you to
Why
really
not?
change your life? It's changed my life. I never thought I would be here with two kids, two
Look at those
C-sections.
muscles.
I mean, what? I
Look at
just
those muscles. I
I'm
love it.
still in shock. I always wanted arms where people knew, like, hey, she works out, and there we go. Still working on the
Yeah,
legs, but I'll get there.
it builds some
It's
confidence. I could coach you at the end of the show and give you some advice if you take any coaching. I've been working on this.
absolutely.
I've been working on this as a coach, is asking permission to coach people. So I was like, if you're up for it, I could coach you on
Yeah.
whether it be getting rid of nervousness or building bigger legs, and just give you quick pointers and stuff. but your mindset is there. I think that's a very powerful story, and pictures do tell a lot of about you and what you're about, because you take the time to stop and take a picture and share it. So, and I always encourage people to take pictures and stuff, and show off what you've done. But and people will be supportive of it. They will. Transformations is a powerful story. It's and right now you're creating your own story, which is neat to see. So you kind of gone through E2M Fitness. Are you a coach there, or what do you do there?
No, I'm
No.
not. I am just a person who has done it. I dove in deep. And here's the thing, especially like with what you said, you know, like to ask to be coached, like when you go in there, you can't pretend like you know it all, because if you did, then you wouldn't be where you're at today, needing to,
Yeah.
get healthy. And so for me, I'm not a know-it-all. I will take anything and everything to, be able to get better,
Yeah.
and improve. So, and I think that's the ticket too, is that if you go into a program, whatever it is, yes, I rant and rave about E2M Fitness because, I mean, look, it's what it's
Yeah.
done for me. But anything that you do, you got to follow it. And you also have to make it a lifetime commitment. Health and fitness is a journey that can't be done for a couple of months and then go back to what you were doing before, or then you're going to end up right back where you were. So, and
Yeah.
again, that was the thing that really triggered it. I'll tell you this, because I think about it all the time. There's a friend that I knew back in Virginia Beach. I remember we were going out to some restaurant or something, and we were doing something with our friends. I was like, hey, do you want to go have pizza again? And he was like, no, I'm starting not to be able to see my abs. I'm like, what are you talking about? What's one more thing of pizza? And now that I'm like having some shape of abs, I'm like, I finally get what in the world he's talking about. Like, abs are made in the kitchen. I get it. And it was like this crazy thing, but I need to tell him this, because I don't think I ever told him that.
Yeah, share the podcast with him. This, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
just stories just come up and stuff while you're chatting and stuff. But it's like, I think podcasting is a great way to recount some of your own memories and stories, and just have, there's things that will happen and that you will learn as the process of you doing it and everything. So I think the story of just do it. Why not? Why is the start of almost like everything. It's like, why wait?
yep,
Why wait being healthy? Why wait being at the best shape of your life? And
yeah,
the more you wait, the harder it becomes. And I've been a very big proactive person about fitness. Of course, I don't have the healthiest lifestyle, but I always pursue, better, just a little bit every day, whether it be podcasting, public speaking, nutrition, and coaching. And like what you said really resonated. I think what resonate with a lot of people is that there's this idea of short-term gain of like, I just want to do it to lose weight. I just want to lose or to get the abs and stuff. It's nice. Those are benefits that will come from it. But the bigger benefit is that one, it becomes, it affects your family. You said that how it affects your daughters and everything. And there is a lot of study. I think I've been studying epigenetics. That's the fancy word of the day, right? $10 word. Epigenetics is
hmm
that your cells, your DNAs, when you change them, right, you're actually fundamentally changing them from like going to work out, food, and everything. Your cells and DNA are actually changing, and the people that are closest around you will be affected by that as well too. So it explains like when you're talking about like energies, frequencies, and I talk about that as well too, like personal development. It really does affect your kids' DNAs. Like if you have, and I don't want to say it, but like if you have like fat person DNA and stuff, it will naturally go there, and you're actually catching it, and it does affect it, and it'll go on to the next generation and everything. If you look at some of my pictures with like my family and everything, it's like my dad and my nephew, right? This three generation, they look very similar and stuff because he has a big effect on how he looks and how his lifestyle is. It's
wow, yeah.
genetics. It's genetics. So,
Yeah.
and saying that, like getting that out to like other people, that like it not only affects just you, because I did that on a coaching call where like it not just affects you, it affects the people around you as well too. And I started to pay more attention. I was like, the people around me are fairly fit and everything, because I'm getting in their either mind, because I repeat everything over and over and over 60, 80 different ways. You see me on Instagram just like, hey, do this, do this, do
Right.
this.
Yep.
Like a million times. But
Yeah.
and
And
then it
that's who
has
you
be
attract too,
yeah, and then
Yeah.
who you attract when you talk about energies, vibrations, and like frequencies. Like when we're vibrating at like a certain level, when you're energetic, you're energized after your workout and stuff, and you're putting your inspiration out there. People are gonna be attracted to that want to hear your story and want to
Yeah.
learn from it and stuff. Thank you guys for watching the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. So I want to take a moment and take a break from the show and thank you for being a part of our community. So I'm the head coach at Peak Performance Academy, and I want to talk about how you guys could support the channel and how we could support you as well too. So if you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe and share it with your thoughts. Leave a review with some feedback and let us know what you enjoy about the show. Your review helps the algorithm and gets our message out to more people. So here's how we could support you guys in your personal growth. So we have a coaching community called Peak Performance Academy, where I'm the head coach. We offer live coaching calls and lifestyle packages as well too. So if you need additional support in these areas of your life, please book a discovery call with us. We look forward to hearing from you and look forward to working with you. And also, if you are a fan of the Flow In, Flow Out podcast and you resonate with the message, and if you have an inspiring story to share, anything that you want to get out there that's going to help elevate the collective vibrations, we welcome you. Just let me know, send me an email, send me a comment, and then we'll get you scheduled on to the show. So we look forward to having you, and we love and appreciate all the support that have you been giving to our the Flow In, Flow Out podcast and the Peak Performance Academy community.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah. So, part of near the end of the show, or kind of like the second half, since we kind of discussed a lot of things, but so we talked about epigenetics and some of your struggles and psychology about what you're doing, and you're a pharmacist now. Do you and I understand you also wanted to be like a motivational speaker as well to kind of inspire and go beyond kind of like what you are now, which is great. I think everybody should do that. Like I'm always constantly pushing myself as well too, as a person, as a coach, and part of like personal development is always to continue to like grow and everything. And of course you had a very powerful message. Is there anything like that in the next steps where we could see like Diane, or like what to expect from like Diane, Dr. Diane?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I
Don't be scared. I'm here.
my next steps. Well, hey, maybe I need some coaching. Because I do have that self-doubt sometimes. Like,
Okay.
if I were to just, leave my job and be a motivational speaker or something like that. But I just want to inspire people. And so, and God's giving me opportunities. I've been asked to lead a Bible study, and, it's really my next steps. I would love just to be able to share my story that would encourage other women to know that they are worthy.
Yeah.
Um, and that, there's things that I think we just put up with because we don't know, or maybe the self-confidence is not there, or feel like we're not worthy, but um, we are. And the thing that helped me transition to that, and I don't know if, I can go through some of these things, but, that God sent his only son and died on the cross for me. That is what resonated with me, that
Mm-hmm.
I was important enough for that to happen. And that's what really started building my confidence um, in the Lord, really. And so from that turning point, um, I started to have that self-love and that self-worth. And if we only loved ourselves and poured into ourselves, then we can give more to others. But if you're giving everything and anything to others, you're not going to be here for very long. And so, one of the things
Mhm.
that you say is, we've got to be proactive in our health and fitness. It's not just about the body or the way we look. It does feel nice, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if I want to be here for my husband and my kids at 100%, I have to take care of myself first. And I think that's what we forget. It's like that oxygen in the plane, right? If you want to help the person that is sitting next to you, you got to put your oxygen on first before you put on someone else's. Because if you don't do that, you're going to lose. You can't stay awake. You're going to pass out. You got to take care of yourself first. So I really just, and I could feel my whole attitude and everything changing. So you can see where my passion is. But
Yeah, and then
um
that is life coaching and giving you space to be like, hey, those dreams, those aspirations, like I'm doing it. I'm not one of those person that waits, and like I tell people, like, I'm bold. Like, I will immediately, if an idea comes, I am going to be on it, right? Not necessarily everybody lives the way I live, but even expressing it and saying it, right, of your passions, that was a very powerful and passionate testimony or message or mission that you kind of want to share with the world. And that's your message now, right? It's not anybody else's, right? But people will resonate with that. So starting off with that, when we start off with like a foundation of why, or just kind of moving forward to like develop like a newer version or a better version. We should always think like not like a newer version, but just like a better
right.
version of ourselves. And me in college and stuff. I was an energetic person. I'm still energetic. Everybody that catches up with me, like, you still have the same amount of energy. I was like, it's because
Absolutely.
I've always been lifting weights. I've been lifting weights actually since the ninth grade. And I've been telling everybody, hey, we should lift weights. You should lift weights. You should lift weights. Because there's a lot of science and a lot of like that support coming out that weights is like, it's for longevity. So of course I'm 38 and I still have a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
See, that's why, like, if you see some of my pictures, I'm flexing, and my nieces and nephews are flexing as well too.
Yeah.
It's like I want to know, like, that women shouldn't stay out of the gym from lifting weights. They shouldn't be afraid of getting too bulky. There's no such thing as that. I've been
Yeah.
lifting weights for 24 years, and I still need to get bigger. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
some
But I
people look
mean,
at me
it's
like,
it's it's like you said, it's me versus me. You're not comparing yourself to anyone else. You just want to be the best you, so you can also give
yeah,
that to others. Like, and there's always that thing, like, as a mom, as a wife, you don't ever want to feel that you're being selfish, but you're not really being selfish. You are
that's a
taking care of yourself so you can
yeah.
take care of others. And that's where my mind frame is. Like, I'm 40 years old and I have a 2 and a 4-year old. I'm going to be like the grandma mom. So
Yeah,
I want
but
to
so
be there for my kids.
you're not accepting the status quo. Most people at 40 would be like, this is who I am. This is it, right? But not accepting the status quo is exactly what the right mindset is, because the accept, like, we're getting into the motivational speakers talk near the end of the talk, where we get in and have our conversation or share our message. That's what typically happens. People get very empowered at the beginning of the podcast, and let it be a leeway of your professional speaking career, because I had the same goals. I at school or at college, the reason why I had so much energy, and I don't know, like I tell on the podcast, is, well, because I always lifted weights. When I lifted weights, I always felt like I knew myself. I knew where I was going and direction and stuff, and I just felt energized because I was the only one there wasn't a lot of people in college lifting weights. No, like nobody was in the gym. Maybe like 6 or 8 dudes that I knew that like repeatedly went there, but I was in the gym by myself. But it was after I read a Tony Robbins book.
Yeah.
One of my fraternity brothers, they are AMC. I was kind of lost. I was like, I don't know what major to pick and everything. But as soon as and the concept is, I only read like one third of the book. I didn't read the books like something like 800 pages, but I read like one third of it, and I got like one concept, and that's what I've developed. Kind of like how my philosophy is developed is Kaizen, constant, or kaizen is the word in Japanese, where it's just incrementally better, but it's kanai, and I determined that or changed it to it's just discipline, where you're just little by little, every day, adding these little 1% increment. And over time, I've been doing that for so long, where I got to the point where like, oh, I got pretty skilled at this, like speaking and doing this kind of stuff. But that was kind of like the spark of it. And then just going on this personal development journey and being more of myself. I want people to be very like your message of authenticity, of struggle, of from the depths, you know, and then getting close to God and your universe, and having like your faith and like your church behind you and stuff. There's people that support you. You just don't might not be completely aware that people will support you, or that self-doubt comes up, right?
Yeah.
I think we were talking about that, and you gave me permission to coach you, right?
Yes, please. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
So self-doubt is actually, it's a lot in your own head, right?
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of self-doubt, and a lot of people deal with self-doubt. And there's a podcast that we did with my NLP coach. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. It's kind of like when I learned it, it was just the language of how you talk to yourself. For me, that's how I describe it. But when I worked with him, he had me doing like mental exercises and stuff. So we play like self-doubt in your head. It's you, right? It's your thoughts. You know, you're gonna be working out, you might be meditating and stuff, but it's you and your thoughts, right? Because if you're sharing like a message on a podcast, because sometimes I get like very nervous on a podcast, but I'm like, people chose to listen to my podcast. They chose to listen to me. They chose to listen to my story. They chose to listen to my guests and stuff, of me being authentic, not me changing who I am to share, or changing who I am to serve them, because you can't. If you're in an audience of speaking like to 20 people and stuff, there's 20 people that are going to have different perspective or whatever. But if you go inward and say, hey, me as a person, people are interested in my story. People are interested in that. And once you start to kind of forget about like all that self-doubt kind of disappears. Because in personal development, spirituality, there's this thing, and you probably heard it, but it's the ego, right? Do you familiar with Eckhart Tolle? Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now? No.
I don't think so.
In philosophy,
but I probably know the concept.
It's
but
the ego.
Yeah.
The concept of the ego is what creates self-doubt. That, like, say if this was you, it's like, it's how you perceive that, and that's how you perceive yourself. That's where the self-doubt is. But if you know that the self-doubt is just actually created in your mind, it kind of disappears. But there's exercises, maybe I think having like good routines before, like, because I have a routine before I jump on a podcast to do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of breathing, and then just kind of like running through things and stuff in my head. And then eventually it's not perfect. Nothing is ever going to be perfect and stuff. Like when you're public speaking, podcasting is a good way to practice. That's why I think in online remote coaching or entrepreneurship, I think having a podcast, be able to public speak, it's basically like having your own TED Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you have an idea, there's different ways. Like if you lack creativity, there's like, I work on like a chat GPT and stuff like all day. So I get very creative and stuff. But I think podcasting is a great way for coaches and people to kind of get their message across in a longer format, and really it's just think about your own experience, and how you're developing, because that's how I develop my content. Because people, I'm openly saying that, hey, I'm building this business. If you're interested in learning more about what I'm building and what I'm doing in the coaching space and stuff, join me. If not, it's okay. That's where I think a lot of self-doubt comes, where you're going to be looking like, if Diane Araj starts putting herself out for some coaching services or like nutrition or like life coaching, right? You start putting yourself out there. The self-doubt comes when you focus on the people that might be turned off by your message, right? But in reality, there's more people that are actually going to support your message. Then there's some people that are just going to ignore it. They just completely oblivious to like fitness, nutrition, you probably encounter that
Yeah.
in your space, but focusing on the ones that you do have an impact, and I'm pretty sure you already made an impact on some people's lives with your messages and stuff. Focusing on those people that like you impact, and then start expanding that, because that becomes like your tribe, your message, your mission and stuff. The closest ones that resonate with it are going to be your biggest supporters and stuff. And then you eventually start to find out who you're talking to by finding yourself. I found out who I'm talking to by finding out who I am.
Right.
And this is some sage wisdom. I think you might like this.
I'm
This is why.
listening.
All right, this is for after like trying to figure out who I was talking to, I came to the realization, I was like, oh, I'm just talking to a younger version of myself, right? That becomes like your ideal like person that you want to work with. It's somebody that might be struggling with like marriage, or not marriage, but like or parenting and gaining weight loss, right? That person is going to resonate because they might be in that same step, and you could talk from expert level from your own experience, right? You are an expert at Diane Araj Buckley, right?
Right.
Before I used to be like, oh man, that guy has a podcast, and he like Andrew Huberman, he has that podcast or something, and he speaks like very scientific at lab like reports. I'm like, man, I could never be like that guy. And then I start to realize like I'm not him. I will never have a podcast like that, you know? I am, and then I started to look back as like people like my podcast because I am me, myself. I'm honest and authentic with my audience members and our guests and stuff. So we could share this message of like struggles do help make us people and strengthen our stories as
Yep.
well too. So
Absolutely.
talking to like the younger version of yourself, and like if you're public speaking and stuff, you know how everybody, maybe I just made this up, but you know how everybody's like, think of the audience if they're like naked or something. I was like,
Right.
you will probably feel very confident to talking to a younger version of yourself, wouldn't
Yeah.
you? Right? Like a younger sister or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like if I only knew what I knew now,
Yeah.
let me tell you about a few things. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's the self-doubt is more so exactly what you're saying, but also it carries a heavier weight, I feel like for me, of, if I do this or if I do something like, I mean, I could always do it while I'm still working, but there's the financial piece to it. There's my kids, there's the house, there's my husband, everything that, you know,
It will naturally
that
become you.
if,
Watch. You don't necessarily need to turn on something different. You actually become, the more you think about it, the more you talk to people that will inspire you, or just keep in contact, or just listening to like, point of podcast is to kind of like expand your thinking. The point of like
Mhm.
reading books is to expand your thinking. It's not
Right.
really like perfect or anything at all, right? It's a process of creation. You create Diane in the future or whatever. That's kind of like the coaching that I've been doing recently is like this identity shifting, like a newer version. How I got kind of maybe share the audience and my experience of when I did a shift, a metamorphic type of shift where I see the world completely different. Like now, my worldview has been completely different. That's why you can see some of my content has been kind of changed to like a spiritual side as well too, because I made like a spiritual shift. But the process of growing, like you're growing, right? You're creating Diane, a newer version of yourself, right? The one that what you want to inspire, that you want to tell your message, and you have family and life and everything. And then like it really like I have the exact same life, but or like male version, single dad, right? Same version, but it's not like I'm doing anything special. It's just I'm actually just documenting my journey, some of my struggles and stuff. So it actually just becomes part of you. Like when you started changing like your fitness and like your nutrition and stuff, it actually becomes who you are, right? It's not like you have to struggle to it. You eventually kind of be like, oh yeah, I mean like it makes sense to document your journey, because one, you talked about your daughters and stuff, wouldn't you want your daughters to be able to say, hey, my mom was actually a very inspiring lady, you know?
Absolutely.
One thing that's pretty cool, an experience I could share is, like, I love it when my daughters talk about me to other dads. They're like, my dad has a podcast.
Yeah.
They talk about my hair. I'm like, that's right. You know what I'm saying? That makes me so proud of the work that I've been doing and stuff, right? But it makes me
It's
proud, and I
amazing.
know that it influenced them as well too. So it's starting to like
Yeah.
inspire other people. So you're gonna touch a lot of people. You're gonna inspire a lot of people on that journey and stuff. But you're also gonna struggle at the same time. You're also gonna struggle. Do I have enough self worth? Do I have enough uh to be able to, change and be like an influencer or like a motivational speaker and stuff? It's the I always tell people don't. And I had one client, and it was a very powerful testimony. He was like, I feel limitless. It's like the feeling of limitless is a sweet feeling. It's a feeling of like understanding of like there's more out there, there's more to like being better, and like diving into the world of personal development and like books and stuff. Once you see the result and how it affects your life and affects other people, it gets very addicting. Like my best friend Omar Bakari, he's a podcaster, but he's a personal development speaker as well too. I had him on the podcast, but he's read some. But his job is to actually read books and write about it, so it becomes very productive. Yeah,
Mhm.
I read something like 300 books, but books and audio programs, if you're having like trouble of like speaking on something, like hearing voices constantly, like
Yep.
I have it on and stuff. So I just know how to articulate, know how to hear how people do things. So those are all just like ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
And you
you
pick
know,
up on the things that resonate with you. Because
yeah.
that's where my YouTube stuff, all like inspirational, like, you know, just dwelling in that. And when I veer away from that, the the thoughts and feelings go away of, hey, I really want to do this. And the minute I start working on it again, it all comes back. And I know that's where I need to go because of how I feel when it's happening. But
Do you feel
that
like
gives them.
it's a healing process when you share your story? Where like for me it does. Like every time I do a podcast, I'm like, man, I feel so good about myself.
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that I think for me, I think I love sharing it from a perspective. I guess it could be healing because I want someone to be able to learn from it or be inspired by it so they can be better. Um,
All right.
I mean, because that's really what it is. I mean,
Okay. Let's leave on an inspiring note for our
okay,
viewers. And I guess you have a lot of stuff, a lot of fun or a lot of cool things, to tell about, and you shared with our guests and viewers and stuff. So say something inspiring and what to be on the lookout for, and then I'll close the show with my final thoughts, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
okay. Um, well, I'll share this. One thing that anytime anyone asks how I'm doing, I say that I am living my dream. And usually people will laugh. And I don't really know why, because, honestly, and it's all about perspective and how you put things into life and your attitude towards it. But there's too many things that are going amazing in my life. There's too many things that I've been blessed with. And I really, truly feel like God has given me a dream, and it is my dream, no one else's. And there's so many times where we do have these thoughts and dreams in our head, and just one person might put a little doubt in your head, like, why would you want to do that? But my thing to you is it is your dream and nobody else's. So when I say I'm living my dream, it is mine. I used to say I'm living the dream, but I am living my dream. It was meant for only me. I
Mm.
have this vision because God gave me that vision as a dream, or, the plans that He has for me to live out the will that He has for me and nobody else's. So don't let someone else dim your light, because it's not theirs to dim. It is yours. And you gotta, the only person that is stopping you is that person that's looking you back in the mirror or the podcast or the video. You're the only person that can stop yourself. So, it's your
Yeah.
dream. Keep living it. I'm going to keep living it. I've got too many things to be thankful for me to see it any other way.
Yeah.
I could be dwelling on the things that are going wrong, but why do that? It's that positive perspective, that self-love. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to live my dream and just make things happen. So,
Wonderful
yeah.
message. Just make it happen, like living the dream, your dream. I think that's what I got. It's your dream, your own personal dream, and being like an individual person. I think I shared with my message with some of my listeners and everything. It's like your dreams are you. It's real. It's a gift from God, a gift from universe that you have to actually like cultivate, and to make it happen and stuff. There's a lot of people that have these dreams, these desires, and these ideas that come and stuff, but naturally we just get comfortable with the norm, the status quo, and then we don't really start to chase them. And then there could be some pain that arises, and understanding that the pain that arises of not being aligned with like your work and everything. It's not necessary that you have to make it a profession, but I think there's a point where everybody has to contribute, back to making this world a better place. I think, for me, this
Absolutely.
is the podcast. I love the podcast because it's so meaningful to me, where I can record it. It's a documentary where like my kids could see that, hey, their dad was actually a real genuinely kind person, right? I don't need to be anything other than a genuinely kind person and help support his friends and family. And he was a real person, right? That at the end of the day makes me very happy, makes me very fulfilled. And I continue, I want to continue to be better and continue to inspire other people as well too. I'm growing. Growth is tough. Anybody that's out there that are in a tough spot, like where there's a lot of emotional pain, like depression or like anxiety, or just dealing with a lot of stuff. I think folks our age, they don't realize like I was talking to a friend of mine. It was like the pandemic definitely screwed up a lot of stuff.
It sure did. It sure did.
Before the
Wow.
pandemic, I didn't know what this word trauma healing, like inner child healing, like therapy, identity shifting. I did not know what these words meant, but I think we're forced to grow and learn sometimes when things become hard and unpredictable, when we're going to crisis and stuff. The crisis, like I've said in before, is like you could learn a lot when there's a crisis, when you have to make a lot of decisions, because that really determines who you are as a person, who is your character and stuff. When you go through hard stuff and you come out of it and stuff, you become extremely strong, extremely like powerful. So that
Challenge is change.
what's that?
Challenge is change.
Challenge is change. There's struggle, there's strength in the struggle. There's so many sayings, there's so many affirmations, right? But I think it's like really as a philosopher, don't just study it, be it, embody it, be the change that you want in the world. I think we all come down and we get lost in all these simple sayings like Dr. Seuss. You're truer than you, truer than anyone. Just be yourself, be an individual, authentic person, because I think more people need to be honest with themselves and their expression. Honest expression, I think, really helps heal other people as well too. So those are my honest expression is the end of, or what I want to express to everybody in today's listen. Dr. Diane has been very honest with her conversation with us and everything. I know this is her first podcast, right?
Yep.
Yeah. If I broke I guess the podcast virginity cherry.
Yep. Yeah, sure did. So
Yeah,
thank you for that opportunity.
yeah, it's fun. I've done a few podcasts before I started my own, so, and I've always done some vlogging on like YouTube and stuff, so it was just kind of like a natural thing just uh to do it. But start off slow, start off small, and then just start to build upon successes and stuff. I think momentum is a big part of keeping success up. It's like if you got some transformations, you got some wins, you got some like step outside a little bit more out of your comfort zone, like possibly
Yeah.
coaching somebody, like that that's where all the fun comes, where you get to see your work pay off on yourself, and then you get to see other people transform, and that's very rewarding as well too. Of course, you're naturally gonna inspire other people, like your family and like your close friends and stuff, but really doing that. But lovely. If there's anything you want to say before the end of the podcast, but that's all I have to say for today.
The only thing is just keep on living the dream.
Keep on living the dream.